Well, hello everybody. Welcome. Hello there. We got Gary, Curtis, and his chickens. So, hello there, Denise, Gary, and Cheyenne, Susan F. Oh, everybody's starting to filter in here on a Wednesday. We got Mike back in the house with Tom and Barb. Hello, everybody.
Hey, good to see everyone.
And it's back together for the week.
Yeah, nice to have you back, Mike. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Just
good.
If I were any better, I couldn't stand myself.
Right. Round of applause. So, so we had a good show last show with the psychic Onay. And we decided to go ahead and add her to her family. So when y'all see her, welcome aboard.
That was a good show.
Yeah, she's very talented. Very talented.
Yes,
yeah.
Definitely.
So we're going to have a plethora of things this show. We're going to start out with our friend and guy from Ohio. Hey, Sonny and Norma. Nice to have you. Round of applause for you guys. We have Tim Gayhart, guys. He's the one from Ohio up there that had me up there for 3 or 4 days. Fantastic guy. He took me out there Bigfoot hunting and investigating. In that scream, I still can't get it out of my head to hear that. It's just wild. I didn't get to ask Daryl Denton about it because he's so busy. But Tim, come on down. Welcome, kind sir. How you doing?
All right. How you doing, Grizz and everybody?
Hey.
Doing good. So talk about the area it took me to and give us a little background on that, kind sir.
Okay, the area I took you to is called the Willard Wildlife Area or the Willard Marsh. It's 1,670 acres, right almost at 1,700 acres. It's been a wildlife area since probably the early 50s, and it's a pretty thick area, and it has water running 20 year round in it, and there's been quite a few stories from even back from I think it was like 1955 or it's in the mid 50s of creatures being there, taking farmers' pigs and chickens and a few other things. And there's been people that's had encounters out there. That one person that lived on the farm that worked, there's farming area all the way around it that they grow produce, and then there's agricultural farming for grain, and the person that lived in a trailer on the farmer's property that was doing produce, he encountered one and went outside and shot his gun off. He thought it was somebody just messing around with his trailer. It was during the summertime, and he thought it was just a bunch of hoodlums messing around. He shot his gun off, went back in the home, back in his trailer, and to his bedroom, put his gun away. And while he was doing that, something ripped the storm door right off the front of his trailer. Then from that point on, until they moved the trailer, that it would come there 2 or 3 to 4 nights a week and beat on the side of the trailer. And there's been numerous hunters that seen them out there. So the area is pretty active. I've seen them out there. I've got pictures that Grizz has seen, and that's where I took Mr. Grizz for 3 nights.
Right. Now, why is it they call it the muck monster? I keep hearing that when I was up there, the muck monster.
Well, it's this muck monster because the fields are made of muck dirt, which is used to be swamp, and they drained it, and it's all the rotten vegetation, and the ground's black, and it feels like baby powder from all the vegetation that rotted for hundreds and thousands of years. And it's real fertile ground, and they've been planting there since I think it was 1890s up till today. They still run the farm. My family worked there my brother started there when he was 16. My dad and them worked there when they was teenagers up to a certain age. Then I worked there from the age of 16 up into my late 20s. My brother's been there for almost 40 some years.
Interesting. You also took me to a place called Lover's Lane. Yes, everybody, do not get excited.
No, I don't play that way.
Yes.
It's just about 3.5 miles. I live in Norwalk. It's like 3.5 miles north of Norwalk. It's on the edge of a town called Milan, and it is a wildlife area, and the Huron River runs through there, and there used to be a big blue bridge there, and that's where all the teenagers and everybody went and made out for all the years ever since they've had that road and vehicles. That's the reason it became Lover's Lane. And I had a sighting there and got pictures of it. That was in November of 23, just after I moved here to Norwalk.
Yeah, what was interesting is I wanted to interview some people, and Tim's like, I don't think we should be down here after dark. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, now you tell me? I'm like, I didn't bring my American Express. So
yeah, it's a hangout, and it's a place where they drink and they party and stuff. It gets pretty violent sometimes down in the area, especially since the drugs and stuff are getting bad in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So I've got some pictures. I was trying to bring up some videos, but here's some pictures during the day to where the wildlife management is one part of the area we was at, and it's so thick in there. Him and Dave, was his name Dave, right? That came down and met with us. Was Dave talking Robertson. About how the where the tree breaks and tree bends are just right inside this woodline area. So
yeah, right there's where I took the picture of the one's head. They're straight behind the sign.
Sorry, I was playing with my bokeh. If you're a photographer, bokeh is a way to take pictures. So I was playing with that. I don't know why I took that picture, ladies and gentlemen, but
you saw Bigfoot.
Yeah, I saw Bigfoot, right? So I just wanted to let you know, Tim, did I or did I not say, and I will bring this back up so people can see this. Where was I at here? And this is how far you can see. And I told Tim as we were driving, I said, Tim, and I looked across this field and I said, if I see Bigfoot, we're going after him.
Yeah. What did I say?
So I just told him.
Roll back to put this car on.
I was like, hey, that's it. So we're going after him.
And he says, will you help me load it? I'm like, we're going to need a rollback to load the car, not worry about loading the Bigfoot.
So, but yeah, right. But you know, what was weird though is that we were right where I showed you that sign was. We were right down the road in that corner, and I kept telling Tim something was moving, and he never seen the laser grid like that. And the pictures does not do any justice. Hello, Alfonso. Welcome to the show. That laser grid went out, about 150, 200 yards, and it covered that whole entire one side of the field, didn't it?
Yeah, it was, probably about 130 yards.
Is that how far it was, you think?
Yeah, and if you went to the wood line across the ditch, it was probably about 145 yards.
Yeah,
but it covered about a 300-foot area from the ground to the top of the trees.
I don't know. I just don't understand how something can move and we cannot see it. It's just so fascinating. And I was telling them, Tim, that that night I got back, when I heard something hit the gravel,
Oh, that was
it
the
was
third night we
not,
out.
yeah, it was not like a person. It was heavy. And I'll be honest, I'll admit it. I was so scared, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't look at first. I didn't. I was afraid to look to see what was there. We were out in the middle of nowhere with no lights, no IR lights, and none of my cameras, none of my flashlights with IR lights. And you hear something that sound like, now, okay, if you don't know what horses sound like on gravel, try to imagine that. And it was heavier than that. But then
And
when
it
I
was-
looked, nothing
it
was
less than-
there.
It was less than 10 foot from you, too.
And it's just like nothing was there. So it was just like, I don't know. I just don't know. And then when I was playing those whoops and hollers, you know, Tim's over there doing this number, you know, I thought he was breakdancing, you know, and I cut it off and I hear it through the trees. And I'm like, what's that? He's like, something's going through the trees. He said, that's the third time. Something literally threw something through the top of the trees. And we don't know what it was. I couldn't tell if it was a rock or a stick. However it was something that had enough material and weight that you can hear it hit the tops of the trees and coming through.
Wow.
Well, before you started doing that, now remember I spooked you because I rushed and got my pistol and loaded a round in the chamber and stuck it back in the holster. And I told you at that time we was being watched, and I pointed to the area we was being watched from, and that was the area once you started playing the sound blasting.
Ladies and gentlemen,
things was thrown at.
He just ratted on us. Yes, we had our heaters. I'm not gonna lie. People,
time, you don't go nowhere without them.
We did have one guy roll up in us in the dark, and I told him if that guy got out of his truck, I was like, he's gonna anyways. He was gonna be blind. I can tell you that much. But no, I mean, we had a good time, but it was very interesting. But that scream, though, Tom, it still has me puzzled. I never heard anything like that. It's strange.
Do you have it on?
No,
recorded?
It's one of those things is you get ready to pack up, and it just like it, you miss it, and I just don't get it.
Can you duplicate it?
Yeah.
Really, you gotta make me do it on the air.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what does that car sound like, ma'am? It tap, 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 tap. Anyways, it was just like, like that 5 times.
Huh.
But
and it sounded like, but I mean, the first time we sat there and was like, what is that? Then the second time we both looked at each other like, and we just stared at each other because it kept on and it did it 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, what did that indicate?
Now, I did hear that noise before in my life when I was coon hunting at night, and I thought it was a screech owl. Then there was something standing behind a tree that I was loaded the gun and was going to walk up on, and it went into the woods fast. I couldn't even keep up with a spotlight, keep up with it.
I know,
I heard
Henry.
that sound before. But
Henry says never ever turn off the record. I know, hindsight, Henry, right? I mean, sporadic activity, right? I agree with you. And I told Barb about the mic to buy, and of course I had it. 15 feet of cord, a nice little mic. You could hear an ant sneeze.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. But that would have been something to have recorded because I've never, and we've all heard sounds, recorded, playbacks, people's caught over the years. And when you hear, Tim, how long have you been Bigfoot hunting?
Since 21.
And how long have you been in the woods?
since I was probably 10 or 11 year old, and I'm
Well,
58.
All right, I don't have enough toes for that. So, but if you ask a country boy, have you ever heard that sound before? And he says one time, I mean, I don't know. It was just strange. But you know, I really wish that one night that law enforcement officer that stopped when he saw that laser grid all up in the field. You know, I wish he would have came back because I really wanted to see if he would talk to us. And maybe if I would have maybe showed him my credentials, he would have probably opened up and been like, well, maybe I would have talked. Because if he patrols out there in that area, what's the chances he sees something? Because when he was driving around, if you don't know, when I patrolled the county, I would use my corners alley lights, spotlights, and hit the fields and so forth to see if there's any car that ran off the side of the road or in the fields. And I would check the barbed wire fences in case anything went through the fence at night, or missed a curve. So just a thought.
Yeah, he was using his lights. he was looking at the wood line and everything over before he got up there and seen that grid you had put up, that laser grid.
Alfonso's asking, is it true when around Bigfoots, does all your batteries drain faster than normal? Barb, Mike, Tom?
To me, I'll just answer. Yeah, I have found that maybe not necessarily drain faster, but they like to turn off things that you're trying to record them with. Just last night, I had a FLIR that camera that somebody has lent me, kindness of their heart, you know, and I can take pictures and I can record on it. Every time I would point to a certain area, it would shut off. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just literally I have this thing fully charged. What's going on? Come back in the house, plug it in, screen, full charge. Yeah, so I can go and I go outside and I can look in other areas. So that's what they do. You know, they to me, that's they mess with you're not going to see me, so they just shut it off.
To me, they can do it when they want to.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, not an every time thing.
Mm-hmm.
About the audio, though, that's important stuff because if you have an audio recording, you can break that down, and it's amazing the information you can get off of it. By slowing it down, by breaking it down to frequencies, you can learn a lot from those. Don't, like you said, don't turn off the recorder.
Yeah. So when it come to myself up there in Ohio, somebody asked me when I got back, did you leave any cameras recording? I had 1, 2, 3, 4. I had 5 cameras I took with me, and I didn't leave anything running. I didn't want any IR lights, any signature, any electronics going at all. I wanted to be pitch black with Tim in the dark to see if that would attract anything, or I didn't want anything at all going to see what would happen. So that was my idea. And if anything did happen, I had everything physically ready where I can immediately turn it on. Yeah. Would there be a 3 to 5 second delay? Absolutely. But once again, look at the recording and so forth. But I mean, how many acres is out there, Tim, roughly?
1,670 just in the wildlife area. That's not counting the surrounding farms there. You got about probably 4 square mile block there.
Oh, it's got to be bigger than that, though. I mean, that whole area has got to be bigger than that, though.
I mean, it's like 4 miles this way, 4 miles 4 miles east, 4 miles west, 4 miles north, south. It's a 4 mile block. Well, it might be it might be a little more than 4 miles. It might be 4.5 close. It's around 4.5.
That'd be 2,500 to 3,000 acres.
Yeah, but the wildlife is 1,670 acres itself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I got you.
Wonder it's such an active area. What a perfect.
Well, Well,
Yeah,
where we first set up with, Tim said there's a fire lane. Or what do you call it? Is that a fire lane that was there, or a cutout that's overgrown?
Yeah. There's fire lanes there. Then where we were sitting at, it runs beside of a ditch that it runs probably 2.5 miles through the hunting area. And it's an open lane, mowed lane, but they only mow it like one time a year, once or twice a year. So it's usually knee high or almost waist high grass and weeds.
All right. Well, I greatly appreciate you coming on, Tim, and thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I greatly appreciate it. And thanks again for hosting and having me up there and your family. I greatly appreciate it. And I look forward to coming back up there again. So
You're welcome to come. You're welcome. And you're welcome to come back, buddy.
All right. Thank you, sir.
I got a couple more areas I want to take you to.
Great. Thank you. You have a good night, Tim.
You
Thank
too.
you, Tim.
Thanks for coming on.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right, Mike. So what's going on with you?
Oh my goodness. We went out. It was a week ago Friday. I was going to talk about this last week. Then they called and said, okay, we're closing on the house. We got to get over to Kentucky and so on and so forth and got all that taken care of. But when we went out, I was over in Madison County, southeast Missouri, which is about, probably about where I was at, it's about a 60 to 70 mile drive northwest of where I live in Cape Girardeau, in southeast Missouri. And you get over there, you're getting close to the Tom Sauk Mountain area and into the Mark Twain National Forest area. But we were on private ground, where I have the gifting bucket set up. And I went up Tuesday, before the Friday, to put some apples and some nectarines and a jar of peanut butter in the bucket, and just made a quick trip up, dropped them off. See you Friday. And on Friday, near the bucket, we had a couple of new glyphs that were put together. One in the shape of a cross, the other a couple of arches with the trees right there near the bucket that were not there on Tuesday. They had all the nectarines and apples and took the jar of peanut butter to wherever it is they go and seemed to enjoy that. And so we set, it wasn't really a tent, but it was like a screened house. Well, just, keep the bugs out. And we set that up right there, probably within 20 or 30 yards from the bucket up in there. And thought, well, we're going to spend the night up there. And me and my buddy Luke was with me, and the property owners were up. They sat up with us till about 1 a.m. before they turned in. But the Squatches were active. We had a visual. I guess it's probably 11:30, 12 of a green orb on beyond the bucket. And as soon as my friend, one of the property owners, says, "Hey guys, check that orb out," and as soon as he said that, they threw a little block of wood through the trees, and that block of wood landed about 20 or so feet from us. And as soon as he said, "Check that orb out," here comes the little tree branch, or the size of a piece of firewood or something like that, comes flying through the trees.
Wow,
that's cool.
It was so cool, and it makes the fourth time in my life that I've seen an orb or orbs, and all four related to Bigfoot activity. So I thought that was fun, and it seemed like that they were over there beyond the bucket, like they do at barbs, where they kind of work with the trees to make a little blind. We could hear them working with the trees all through the night up until about 3:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And we're about 40 yards away from where they're at, probably. just sitting there and talking to each other and listening and you know, and just enjoying the sounds. We got some good whoops and some mouth popping sounds and stuff like that on recording as well. So it's kind of a fun time.
Interesting.
Very cool.
Kept me up till about 3:30. And
Wow.
and my buddy Luke says to me, "Is this first time camping up there?" He says, "Well," he says, "Do you think?" He goes, "When do they quit?" I said, "Usually about 4." I said, it seems like about 4 when we're up here and they're active. You know, Mama or somebody will call them, make a call and call them all in. So I said, expect that till about 3:30, 4 o'clock. So.
What kind of a noise when Mama calls them in? What do you hear at that point?
Oh, she just lets out a big loud scream. Just maybe 2 or 3 or 4 in succession. Just a real high pitched, loud scream, and just bellows it out. And I'm assuming that's telling them all to, you know, get your little heinies. Sun will be up in a couple hours. Get your heinies out of sight. so
Wow.
But it was a fun time, and I was glad that we got out and got that activity. So
yeah, wow, that's
awesome.
Grizzly, did you talk to Mike about the yell that you heard? That was you said, what was it, 5 times it was repeated?
Yeah. So no, I haven't. And like I said, I was laying there the other night again. And I said this on the other show. It's just I can't get it out of my head. Mm-hmm. And somebody sent me a message, sent me something, said, "Does it sound like this?" I'll listen to it after the show. I've never heard it before. And Tim said, like you said on the show, he heard it when he was younger hunting. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when that went off, everything in the woods around us got dead silent.
Yeah.
And I was just like dead silent, right? And it was just strange. So I don't know. Very interesting.
We heard one and it was just before dark, and he was kind of a little distance away, and it seemed like he just kind of went off and yelled about a half dozen times in a row, just letting out a holler, and my friend Luke that was with me is kind of halfway skeptical about this stuff, and we're trying to teach him and coach him and things like that. And he's and so I was glad that the time I was with him on Friday night, we had some good activity that we could work and educate him a little bit on. So,
what does he think when he hears these yells and these howls? What does he think that is? Then, if it's not,
well, he tries to rationalize, coyotes or owls or sometimes of an owl call. And I explained to him a couple things. I explained to him one, like what the owl calls, depth of volume. Mm-hmm. Depth of volume. If a regular barred owl, you're not going to hear it from a long distance away. Right. If it's up close, okay, check out some other intangibles. But if it's really loud, you're not going to hear that from a long distance away. And if it's up close, what's the direction it coming from? If it's coming straight across, or is it coming from the trees down? If it's coming the trees down, perhaps barred owl. If it's coming straight across, it's most likely Sasquatch. And again, you go by depth of volume, how loud they are when they're calling.
Right.
And so I try to explain that stuff to him, and the difference between, and like the coyotes, they'll start out, you'll get the real long, drawn out yell, which is Sasquatch. Then the coyotes will go yipping. And then about halfway through there, yapping. You get that real long, drawn out yell again. And I try to distinguish with him, squatch, coyotes. Usually it's a similar pattern. So So you're just trying to educate him and explain to him how, I use the theory, you rule everything out, you start ruling out.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not that for this reason. It's not that for this reason. And then sometimes you get to, well, it could be that, but I'm not, but we've been hearing all this other stuff, so it's probably not. So, so it's just a process.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's cool though. Very cool.
It is. What about you, Tom?
Right now, I'm planning probably what I hope is going to be the best gathering ever. Next August 25 will be Rendezvous 25. We rendezvoused there in 14 and had a great time. We had face-to-face sightings right in camp and on the road. I wrote 4 chapters and 4 different books that they appear in off that one outing. And we're going to go back there.
Tom, can I interrupt for a second? Is that
Sure.
the one in face to face where I forget who it was? Is it the same type of outing she was talking about? She's howling at him, "Come show yourself! Come show yourself! It's okay."
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
that's Kathy.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
that happened there. Yeah,
Okay.
she also is the one who got frozen in place there.
Okay. Yeah.
And the gal.
See, I read your book. So
read Myth to Mystery, and that'll even talk more about it.
Okay.
But it's in the vicinity of the Patterson-Gimlin film site, and we will be doing a excursion into there, probably an overnighter. We're going to divide it up so that we have individual research groups for people who want to do strictly Sasquatch, people who want to study orbs, and the person that's going to lead that just came into the room, and
Penny.
Penny, and
Penny.
a couple of other divisions. Okay, we're going to have a presentation every night, every evening, and it's just going to speak. We're going to be a combination of a conference and a camp out, is what it amounts to. 32 miles off the nearest road, and in the Siskiyou Wilderness in Northern California. And that'll be next August. We're just working on it now. We've got a planning meeting the 5th of July to finalize things, but I've got a page up on my website, preliminary, and that's tomcantrell.com. And just go to the expedition page there, and you'll see what we're planning. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. We're going to have to limit the number of people that come, and there's a lot of interest. But It's going to be. I'm trying to make this my last hurrah. Okay, go out with a flash. I want this to be the best gathering of the 2020s.
Cool.
Best of the decade.
That's awesome.
Okay. And teaming up with Barb Shoop of the Squatching with Barb and Gabby, Goldie now, group. And they're fantastic. It's going to be great. Absolutely great.
Gosh.
Mm-hmm.
That just sounds so exciting. Oh.
I can't wait for it.
I've got to give a shout out to my Labrador Retriever, Jackie, who's 12 years old. She went with me a couple of Friday nights ago, and she was very, very well behaved in the midst of those squatches the entire night. And I was proud of her.
Oh, wow.
Because normally, because in the past, she'd get scared to death. But so.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. Our little, we have a mini Australian Shepherd, and he does not seem to be as, scared, I think, of them as he was at one time. So do they kind of, Tom, do they kind of give off like sometimes, you know what I mean? Like
they know. I think they can read them as well as they read us, and they know their intentions. Barb's Gabby, she was part of them. She'd show us where they were.
Just amazing.
And Goldie hasn't learned quite that much yet, but she's doing well. But they different dogs. If they're not aggressive, they don't bother them. It's the aggressive ones. What's her name up on the in Sequim on the Olympic Peninsula had a dog that would try to attack him, and they told her to leave the dog home. Don't bring it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I think a lot of it depends on the dog, how the dog is going to react.
Absolutely.
But I say this, I've only had Jackie out about 4 or 5 times. I was still, if my wife's gone, I don't want to leave her home alone. But but the first time she sniffed Bigfoot tracks, and as soon as she got a whiff of the scent, she just wanted to go straight to the car and go home and just whimpered the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's been a gradual progression. Well, we were in the midst of them that Friday a couple of weeks ago, and she was just sitting next to me in the screen house the entire time and just chilling. So
that's so sweet. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is, if you miss this one, you're going to miss the best that's ever been, I think.
Well, I tell you what,
I
got a year to plan. I'd love to get out there. Tom.
Yeah. I really,
like I put on the flyer, if you're worried about money, don't drink one cup of Starbucks a week, and it'll pay for it.
There you go. Well, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, you start saving for it now.
That's right.
Yeah. My husband has to have a hip replacement next year. This is his second.
No.
And then he has to have another one. And that's my only, I don't know when, because it's not like you don't tell the doctor when you're going to, they tell you. So that's my only thing, because I'm, anyway. I guess I probably should have to stay home, take care of him, not see you, babe, I'm going to go.
Even my crazy bud, Brian Bland, is coming down from Canada for it.
Oh, Brian. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I would love to meet them. Wow.
Yes.
They are. They were my pards for our 5-year study on glyphs in BC, Brian and Sue.
I just think with all you guys that are going to be there, the knowledge that we can soak up just by just sitting there and listening.
Arla's coming from Oklahoma.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. That's going to be fantastic.
Oh, it is. It's going to be,
wow.
It's going to be the best ever.
Wow. So make sure everybody.
Yeah.
So we,
So I heard you have a lot of activity, Barb, since the other night we were talking.
Yeah, it's been picking up. I feel like it was quiet there for a while. It is still quiet on the, I'm not getting a lot of audio on my cameras at night, but they're messing with them a lot. The other night I had, I don't remember when, I was sometime within the past week, I had the most awesome, the owls, them mimicking the owls. And it was so awesome. And I'm like, wow, I can't wait till, this is a perfect example. So when I shut it off, shut the camera off, what happens is the video will come up like a notification. It didn't. So it didn't. I did not get that. So, and that's kind of what they've been doing, kind of messing with that. But it is ironic. And I was telling Tim that my side camera, that's the one that looks out onto the forest and the wood line. If I just basically stay on that, keep watching for, I don't know, maybe a minute or two, I'll get that big, that big male that is always around, that's, I think that his name is Mont, because that was what I got that. I thought mine speak that time, and so I think that's him, but he always never fails. He's, he comes around and starts grunting. And the other night I was thinking about you, Grizzly, because I was so sure that he was going to come and walk right over into the camera view. I could hear the crunching on the gravel, and I could hear the.
Now that crunch on the gravel is not normal, is it?
Oh no, I've heard, you know, they'll sit there when they take that step and you hear just crunch. You hear the whole
Yes.
foot heel
Yeah.
to toe.
Yes.
If that's a 16 to 18-inch foot, that's a long crunch.
Yeah.
And then they'll take the next step, crunch. Yes, I've heard.
Because the first time I heard that, I was like,
Yep.
and I'm like, I am not moving. And I'm like trying to look at Tim. I'm like, Tim, are you hearing this? And he's just sitting there looking in the trees like, but anyways,
Grizzly a couple years, I had that a couple years ago, and he stepped. We had a canvas floor right outside the tent door, and he went from the gravel crunch to stepped onto the canvas right in front. I mean, right, he had a tent wall. You can see the silhouette. He is standing right there.
Oh, cool.
Step on canvas, and I just froze. I'm like, just don't move. Don't. I'm like, my mind's telling me, talk to it, say something, talk to it, say something. And my buddy Bill was just snoring away the whole time, just snoring away. But we had a third guy in the tent with us that was just on point as well. And then the next thing you know, about 2 or 3 steps, he's back off into the woods. So,
wow.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I thought of another thing that happened, and I don't know why. This is kind of like, you see something and you're like, I can't believe I'm seeing this. This is just wow. And Tom, I talked to I don't know if you know Jennifer Appleton, but I talked to her, but I really should have asked you, Tom. Does it get to a point where they know that you're watching them and they just go about their business? Yes. I didn't have a phone.
If they accept you, they don't care.
Yeah, and I just was like, oh my gosh, because I was walking around, carrying watering cans around, just watering flowers and stuff, and I thought, oh, I'm just going to peek in, and I thought, oh my gosh, wait, what is in there? Because I clearly could see there, and I even drew like a little diagram because it was so crazy. I didn't want to forget what I saw. The first one, he was in the back, and I assume it's a he, and he was really tall, and he kind of was bent over, but then put out like head, and all I could see was the silhouette. They're like it's backlit, and he was probably 80 yards away, so I wasn't seeing. The others were, and so he anyway pops his head up, like I could see him like kind of turn his body, look at me, and then go back down. Then in front of him was the one that I could see the most. It was just bizarre. It was just like bent over, whatever it was doing. It was like a black silhouette. Then in front of that, there was this is the weird thing. And I wish that I could, I'm looking at him, like, what am I looking at? It looked like a person that was wrapped in like a tarp, in a green tarp. So bizarre. And it was, it had this, it looked like it was holding this thing, and I'm like, is it a tail? It was black, and it was like just undulating like that. And it kept, and I don't know, was it a big long tail? And then there was something that was coming around and was like, would touch that thing. And then and I'm thinking, is that an arm? So watched this a little while longer. And I was like, I just cannot believe that is this them? They don't care that I'm watching them. So I thought, okay, I'm just going to walk away, and, because I had more flowers to walk, because I don't know. I just couldn't believe it. They kept it up. So I walk away. Then when I came back, I had a little bit of a better view, and I was maybe about 10 feet closer to them, because I thought I'm going to get a little bit more daring. And so I went in about 10 feet closer. So then I realized that thing that I saw that was coming around and grabbing the undulating thing it was an arm, and it was a Sasquatch. And this thing looked like it kind of was giving me like the feeling like, oh, I see you, but I'm not looking at you. And it was just kind of just moving around, looking away. And And that was the one that I got the best look at, and it was just blew my mind.
That's
So,
wild.
They can do that.
yeah, I mean,
It'll come to the point, and you're the personality to do it, I'm sure, or they wouldn't be what they're doing.
Yeah.
But it'll be just like when we were in Georgia, and I had two of them standing around me at the campfire.
wow.
Hmm.
Oof.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We had 18 people around that camp.
Uh-oh.
That's wild.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do we lose? Oh. And then what they do, Tom, tell us about that. Did they just kind of walk out?
They just turned around and walked back into the brush. Arla and 3 or 4 other people went with them, followed them, and there was another one back in the brush a little ways. And yeah, there was a wonderful experience.
That is really cool.
And I lay there at night in the tent, reading and listening to the calls. Those, it's just fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, just wonderful.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Oh, hey, hi.
Yeah.
Victoria's on. Hi, Victoria.
Hey. Cool.
I don't know if y'all caught Sunday's show. Did you hear about that ex-military guy from Canada?
Oh, I listened to part of it, but like, wow.
The guy went hunting, moose hunting, right? Guy had moose tags, deer tags, bear tags, whatever tags to feed his family. And he goes out to walk across this field, and King Kong versus a 1,500 pound moose ensues. Right there in front of him. Full on battle.
Wow.
And it
talk about yikes.
Yes. And he was just like, it was so close that he said that he could have reached out and touched Bigfoot with his rifle.
Oh my gosh.
And Bigfoot looked right at him in his eyes as he was running after this moose.
Oh gosh.
And he said when he hit the moose with his hand, he said the hair and blood, it just like it was like sci-fi. And he said the size of this Bigfoot was nothing that he could ever fathom. And and he's an avid hunter, and I can't believe he came forward. And an average moose is 6'6" at the shoulders.
Massive.
That was Bigfoot's belly button when he was next to the moose.
Wow.
Yep.
So what would that be?
That's the way I am. That's the way I am with my teacher.
You get an adult male about 13 to 14 foot tall.
He was estimating 15.
Well, that's very
he
possible.
He said his arms on this Bigfoot was bigger than his chest. He said it was unproportional. He's like, if I wasn't there, he was like, you were crazy. He said, now he tells you how the battle goes. He's never heard a moose make this sound. Never in his life. After it is done, Bigfoot looks into the moose's eye. Poof. Disappear. Right in front of him. And he was like, did this just happen? It took everything he got to get to his truck and to leave. And I ain't going to tell you how he left because he was ready to unwind, shooting anything to leave. But it was like unbelievable. Now, I've heard this happening, but I never had a witness come forward. But man, I mean, we just sat back and he just let it go. We didn't really interrupt anything. But if you want to hear the story, check it out. I cannot believe he came forward. I was very surprised. But yeah, he said he's still traumatized about it. But and he said the teeth on this thing was so blocky and big and yellow. But he said when he ran by him, Bigfoot, And when he looked at him right in his eyes, he didn't know. He was like, oh, you know, and he was like, am I next? But he said the part was, and I showed pictures of a moose compared to a human.
Mhm.
He said they just disappeared. It was gone, like it never happened. So, but he said that it was like he was not alone. Like others were watching, and he was like, "Am I? Is he going to come back and get me? Like, am I next?" So I don't know, but it was pretty wild, ladies and gentlemen. So,
and I wonder what do you guys? What are your thoughts on like why just like poof disappear? Like what was?
Well, if you remember Randy in Minnesota and others like him, there's that area where all that deer hair is there, where they take these animals allegedly, and they're just nothing, no remains, right? Now, this is what I never got. I used to be an avid deer hunter, right? And I'm not trying to get grotesque, but you would field dress a deer, and that means you remove all the insides, right? And that would be a gut pile. Within 4 hours, that would all be gone. But I would never see what would take it. That would be the heart, the liver, the lungs, all that.
Yeah.
Now, you know, buzzards, coyotes, scavengers, you know, we know that they come and get it. Don't get me wrong, coyotes would not, right? But I don't know. I mean, that really got me thinking over the years because we just don't know. But I've heard stories about them coming, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, getting them because of the protein of the heart and the liver. I mean, people eat livers, right? My parents do, gizzards and all that stuff. So fried liver and onions. People eat hearts. They sell them in the store, chicken hearts, gizzards, cow hearts.
Yeah.
But yeah. Speaking of that, I talked to the guy about the redhead. I asked Daryl about it too today. Daryl kind of laughed. He's like, you know, nothing surprises me anymore. But now they're killing his chickens. But what's really weird, and I said something to Daryl because he's perplexed. They're getting inside his coop, peeling it up, but they're not leaving tracks. He was like, he said, I would think they're animals, but there's no tracks of coyotes. Or he was like, yeah, I know I'm not going crazy, but he said an animal wouldn't do what to get in there to get these things out. So it's very interesting. So a lot of tree damage still, trees being knocked down, more X's. So what's the deal with the X's though? What's that trying to tell him? Tom, that's to you.
X normally speaks for welcome friendship. And, maybe
that must be to his wife then.
You only, honey.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's generally a welcome friendship sign. Now I can't imagine in that situation what he's doing, but maybe he's apologizing for taking the chickens. I don't know.
I don't know. So I'm going to get some more information from him, but he's not happy. But I don't think. And if you're watching, well, I think his language and their language is not what I'm thinking he's doing. If you catch my drift,
yeah,
I think he's probably making it worse a little bit. But
yeah,
Brian, I'll send Mike out there, and Mike can serenade him.
Let's do it.
But Daryl didn't just laugh when I told him. He was just like, what? I'm like, man, I tell you.
No.
So, but no, so he's still having activity. And somebody else contacted me from Michigan. I don't know what's going up on there, but it's interesting, right? So,
Tom, was it Arla that had that they were taking her chickens, or was it somebody else?
Yeah, chicken, everything. She started out with watermelons. She was growing these giant Texas watermelons, and of course, they started ripening. She was watching them, and it was ready to pick. It's a little tendril you're watching when it dries up. She went out to pick it, and it was gone.
Yeah.
And so she went to the next biggest one, and same thing. It was gone. She said, "Okay, guys, this has got to stop. I need to feed my family too. So 50%. You can have half. I'll keep half." She had apple trees that half of them were picked, and the rest left. Berry runs where half the berries were picked and the other half were there, and they still do it. Yeah, and that's been years.
I'll have to do that. Yeah, with my I have a grapevine that they just stripped overnight. I assume, what else would be? I mean, because they weren't, like, okay, if a deer, they're going to grab the bunch and they're going to just yank it off.
There's going to be a mess.
There's going to be kind of, they'll pluck them off, but it's still going to be. This was just like perfectly. You would have all the stems, and all the grapes are just, gone. Yeah. Darn it. But I'll have to. Wow.
Has anybody tried that ball sang yet?
Tried to what?
That ball sang?
What was that? What?
The ball that makes noises or something?
Oh, the giggle ball. The giggle ball.
The giggle ball.
Yes. I have mine out in the woods, and it really hasn't. It really hasn't moved. So I don't know.
We used a cat ball that lights up on contact one night, and it made like the red and blue police siren. I didn't know this. These guys, my buddy Bill, who just sold this place we just talked about, he had an outing, and I come over late from a high school basketball game on a Friday night, and I got over there about 10 o'clock, and a few of the guys were out there talking, and people were going different places to sleep, and I just went in Bill's house and crashed in the recliner in the front room, and I get up and I look out the window about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I see this red and blue, like a siren flashing down in the woods off Bill's yard. And I'm sitting there watching that, and I'm thinking, "There's what's going on down there? There's wait a minute, there's no road down there.
Oh my God.
They couldn't get an ambulance in there or a police car in there. What's going on?" And I'm sitting there watching this, and then it might stop for about 5 seconds, and it start up again. Then it stops. So I thought, well, this is weird. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know that they had left that thing sitting out or even had it. And so I got out and I walked outside, and I thought, just go back in, and maybe you're dreaming this or something, And well, the next morning when I mentioned, they got that cat ball I was playing for that. They really were. And I thought, I wish I would have known that. I wish you would have told me, because I was kind of like, do you really want to go down there and investigate that?
Yeah.
You don't know what's on that end.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, they love those things.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
that's funny.
I got funny. Some of those.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, they haven't really. I had the giggle ball on the side of the house. Didn't hear anything. Kind of right by the camera, and I thought maybe it's too close to the camera, so I moved it away. But I didn't hear anything, and it really didn't move. Took it back in the woods. It has moved a little bit, but it hasn't really moved that much. And every time I go out, I'm like, "Hey, you guys, this is have fun with it, play with it, whatever." Like, what are we supposed to do, lady?
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Oh, so Twist, I had a tennis ball on my porch the other day. I had a fish cat toy on my porch, then a stuffed bunny. Oh, no idea where they came from. Somebody's leaving you gifts. Yeah. Were you told, was it on on Arliss and Michael's show, the pork and beans, or pork, what is it, porkless bean or whatever, porkless beans. Was it about the toy car that showed up?
Oh yeah,
Did you-
that happened in
Tell that
Run
story.
Over
That's so
14.
cool.
What's her name?
Yeah, I can't think of
Deb. She came over
Deb.
from Australia
Oh,
for 2014 outing there, and she landed in Los Angeles, and somebody picked her up there at the airport. And as they drove north, every time they stopped, she'd look for a secondhand store to look for these little matchbox type cars, because her husband collected them and they're hard to come by in Australia. So she wanted to get one for him, and she didn't. But we were talking about that in camp, and she got up one morning, came over to the fire, and where our fire was, there were two big fir logs down across the creek there, and made good bridge to get across the other side. And she had a handful of bouquet of wildflowers she'd picked, was going to put them on that log. Went to put them on the log, and here's a little 1955 Ford Thunderbird with the portholes, no tires, no wheels, all beat up, little toy car sitting on the log waiting for her.
Wow.
just incredible. Yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Everybody there got gifts, and they were left for them. Sue Funkhauser and my pard. Sue Bland now, Brian's wife, but she had the most beautiful little piece of rawhide that was cut in such a way when it curled, it's like a little doll.
Wow.
And if you look at it, it looks like a doll. It's just beautiful, just beautiful. And Kathy, she was bringing all the firewood, and she got a piece of firewood, lay it on the log. But everybody, I got so many rocks, but you know, I'm a rock nut anyway, and they know that. I've got the most beautiful Bigfoot foot shaped rock, flat, but shaped like a foot, left laying on my bunk inside my tent. And how they did that, you know?
Yeah.
But they did. And yeah, it's in case you're wondering why I'm so anxious to go back there again.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
that sounds like what a special.
Oh yeah. We were there in camp 12 days last time. It won't be as long this time. But nobody wanted to leave. Nobody wanted to leave.
Oh my gosh.
It's just,
I bet.
Yeah. Sit there at the fire and watch them on the hill right beside us, 20 yards away. Sitting there watching us at the fire. Yeah. It's just a wonderful place. Wonderful place. Got the wilderness on three sides of you. So the only way in is the one road. And it's, like I said, it's the road, but it's wilderness on three sides of the road.
Wow.
And yeah, it's a very unique place.
It's nice. So Barb, what do you have on the show tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have Russell Witala. It's Witala. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I don't think he's watching, but if you are, Russell, I apologize. But man, that's going to be cool because do you know him, Tom?
I think so. I think it's
Russell Witala. Yes, and he wrote the Sasquatch Shaman of the Woods, and they gave him so many messages, and so he has a lot of pretty cool evidence. So yeah. So everybody join us if you can, or watch the replay.
Awesome. Hey, it's been a great show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. So yes, awesome. So hopefully everybody has a good night. Thank you, Tom, Mike, and Barb. Hopefully see everybody tomorrow.
See you guys.
Okay.
All right,
check out my
everybody.
website.
Good night.
All right, we'll see you guys
tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.